So I'll just tell you how I do these talks. So generally, I start with an introduction, and then I invite people to come and ask questions. If you ask a question today, your audio will be put onto YouTube, but not your face. But generally, we only be recording once a week. But yesterday, yeah, didn't quite work out. Yeah. So if anybody has a subject matter which they would like me to talk about for the introduction, I'm happy to do that, if you just want to call out a subject matter. Sorry?
What's the subject matter?
Like truth or religion or like non-duality or consciousness or what is the I am, any subject matter, just to get the energy going.
Could you talk about love?
Love, oh that's like the best. Thank you for saying that. That's my favourite subject.
Guilt.
Oh, you've guilt.
Guilt and shame.
And shame. Yeah.
And motherhood.
Yeah. We'll start with love and then maybe go into guilt and shame. So I'm just getting over my sweat. I stay at the bottom of the hill, so I'm realizing that I'm going to have to come here a bit early and just sit down before I get to the talk. Otherwise I end up like, yeah. So again, like I started yesterday, anything that I say is not truth. I know that's really disappointing because we normally go to a teacher and we're like, okay, tell me the truth, tell me the way, and tell me that you know. Like for a female teacher, already if you start as a female teacher, you're starting at a disadvantage. We're more prone to listen to male teachers than female teachers. And then the female teacher starts and is like, yeah, everything I say isn't true. You're like, oh God. Do I ever come back to her? So everything I say cannot be a truth because truth was there prior to us learning how to speak. So how can what I say be a truth? It can only ever be a pointing, and that is such love. It doesn't sound like it, but it is such love. And when I say that, and when I'm positive about what this body says, it's not a personal thing. Because this is like, this is nobody's teaching, or you could see it in the flow of things as like all the teachers that came before is this teaching. It's not Lisa's teaching. That would be such arrogance for Lisa to claim this. Like, what about all my teachers? Like, where does words or ideas or knowledge come from? They're infinite. They don't start with anyone. We love that in the West. We're like, okay, I've got an idea, let's get YouTube out and record it and put it on the internet, and that is my idea. But how can you ever have an idea? Like, how can an idea ever be yours? You're like, but hang on, let me sit and really think of an idea that's completely unique and original. But all the ideas prior to that idea created that idea. So you needed all your other ideas, all the structure of our way of thinking in order to have that idea. You can't just like have an idea out of nothing. In a way, that's all that ever happens, is you have ideas out of nothing. But we're just going to like confuse the hell out of everybody here and no one will come back. Yeah. So so it's so insanely beautiful that nobody has this teaching and nobody owns this teaching and nobody can convey this teaching. Because who has a teaching? Who has that? Who created it? Like, who copyrighted something? How can you ever have something that's originally yours, and who would be the you that ever originally has it? Isn't you an evolution of ideas as well? A mind and imagery and thoughts? So even though it maybe doesn't sound like it, maybe it sounds like I'm off on a mad stream of nonsense, this is love. To see that nothing is separate and that nothing starts with one thing, that everything is connected infinitely. This is where you find love. Love is the feminine, love is the wild, love is the creative, and without the masculine, love is unbearable. It needs the masculine. The masculine is the stillness, is the safety, is the container, is the consciousness. The love is the life, the beingness, the everythingness. And without those two united, you will suffer. It's only in these two uniting that freedom is. The masculine and the feminine. It's so crazy. I mean, look at Indian spirituality. Like, you look around everywhere and there's like little penises, big penises, the yoni, the vagina, and then everyone's acting like very unsexual in a way, like trying to cover themselves. But it's all about the masculine and the feminine coming together. It's so insanely beautiful. This life is an absolute love affair. And in order for that love affair to happen, there has to be apparent separation. So there has to be the dream of being something separate for it to come back together again. This dream is about you, who you truly are, finding yourself again, falling in love with yourself again. That's what this dream is about. Who you truly are is whole and is complete. And without creativity, it cannot fall in love with itself. It just is love. So with it creating itself, it has the ability to be something and then to find itself again. And this is all the mission is in life. I know the mission often seems like we've got to get enough food and shelter. That is part of it, but that's part of the breaking us down. Like, that's part of like, that's part of the illusion of this game. It's not really a game as such, like a computer game or something. It's more, you could say, like a love story. Why is it like when we let ourselves be creative, like we have done over the last 100 years, we've had this like big like outburst of creativity and change and shift, that one of the most valued thing in our society, except money, is falling in love, sexuality, and creativity. Why do we honor this so much? It must be in our subconscious deeply somewhere for this to be what our life is about. Like, this is held as the highest thing. And it is the highest thing, but just not like we imagine it. It's not about a man and a woman coming together, or a man and a man, or a woman and a woman, or I'm not very politically correct to know all the other ways to put it. We'll leave that to the younger ones. I didn't grow up with that. Yeah, the younger ones like ta ta ta, to the older ones like, oh, I don't know all the words either. Yeah. So that's not what it's about. That's an expression of it, and that's really beautiful and can be tragically painful. It's actually about those two uniting inside of yourself. Then we're going to go on to what is inside of yourself. That's a funky question. What is inside of yourself? So our assumption is that inside of ourself is inside of this body. It's inside of this person. Just before I carry on, I just want to relieve some people. Like, I like to be comfortable. So if you feel like laying down and falling asleep, go for it. I do not care. I don't see more spiritual sitting like that. I think it's great if someone falls asleep and like snores. Like that's like, the ego is very small there. They're like, just go for it. So yeah, if you're uncomfortable, just change your position. So back to what I was saying. So we assume that inside of ourselves is inside of this body. Is inside of the body. And this is the greatest lie you've ever been told, that there is an inside to this body. That's an imagination. I used to have this like most divinely beautiful dog called Khaleesi. She passed away, oh my, 2 years ago, a year and a half ago now. And you know, she never knew that concept inside my body. And that meant that she didn't suffer like humans do. I mean, I'm not saying that she was enlightened because she never had the opportunity to fall in love with herself again, but she didn't suffer in the way humans did because she didn't know about inside her body. Nobody told her when she was born, look, you're an entity that lives inside of that body. So she didn't know that. And this diminished her suffering a lot. So she had chronic pain, which I didn't know about until she was in her last years. And she'd had chronic pain. She had deformed back legs. I kind of knew there was something odd there, but just every time I took them to the vets, they never said anything. And she never suffered that because it never belonged to her. So she had chronic pain, but God was holding the chronic pain, not her, because she didn't have a concept that she existed inside of the body. So therefore, the whole of the life held her pain. So it meant that she could be in chronic pain, and I watched her. So after I found out she had chronic pain, like I remembered back, and then afterwards I watched her. She could be in chronic pain and in difficult situations, and then she could just be like, and that shows like deep relaxation and peace with it, I think. Maybe other people think that's avoidance, but I felt like it was like deep surrender and peace with it, that she wasn't in a mental suffering about it. And I notice this often with street animals, is that they, even when they're in really bad circumstances, they always can sleep. And to me, I feel like that's a relaxation. In some people's imagination, they might see that as avoidance, but I feel like it's a relaxation. Like if they're really stressed out, I doubt they would be able to sleep. So she never had a concept of inside the body. And the reason that I know she didn't have a concept that she was inside the body is because she couldn't really think in the same way that I could. There was some form of thinking, but I couldn't explain to her that this was the floor, for example, or that this was a wall, or that there was a beautiful sunset and I would like her to appreciate it with me. She couldn't think about these things. And so it meant she also couldn't do complex actions. So if like her ball got stuck under the table, she couldn't like get the ball out. She couldn't, work out how to do that. She would just sit there for ages being like that, and I'd be like, you just need to lift it up, Khaleesi. But she didn't have that ability to think in that way. So, and that's not the only reason I know. I also know from the awakening experiences here, it's like I could recognize that absence there, that there wasn't an entity inside her body. Because there wasn't the thinking, there wasn't the ability to find herself again, but there was a relative level of freedom there compared to humans that believe they exist inside the body. So we are told from such a young age that we exist in here, that we exist in here predominantly, and that we're some sort of soul, and maybe we believe that we're a soul that is controlling this body. Maybe we believe this body is us, but maybe we believe when the body dies we carry on. But this is a concept. This isn't a reality. It's a concept that you were taught. You weren't born with this concept. And this is why for a lot of people, when they remember being young, there is like a lot more freedom there, because they don't have such a strong concept of being inside the body. So when you were like 3 years old or 2 years old, there wasn't such a strong sense that I'm in here, but it began. You kept getting told that you're inside the body. And what this does is it creates a lot of very interesting thinking, because you also feel like you're inside this body and it's your job to make yourself happy. It's your job to find freedom. So you get lots of like complex thinking that comes with it. But what I would suggest, and I'd say this is like the greatest exploration that you can do, is to investigate that. Are you somebody that's inside this body? Do you belong inside here? And this is how the lovers get reunited, the masculine and the feminine get reunited. What happens is the consciousness stops belonging to you. It stops belonging like behind the eyes, that you're conscious here, and it melts back into life, into everything. And when it goes back into everything, that is freedom. The masculine and the feminine have reunited again. So consciousness isn't yours. So the thoughts belong, you could say belong to this body, but then you could also say to life. But the stories seem to belong to this body, the thoughts belong to this body, but consciousness does not belong to this body. And that is your illusion. And consciousness is what you truly are. The body, the thoughts, the experiences are what come and go. And you suffer when you misidentify with the thoughts and the experiences rather than the consciousness. Now, if we've got any like Advaita, non-duality nerds here, you might be like, actually, Lisa, consciousness is not the final stage. Didn't you know it's nothing? But we just don't go there yet. We go there when that's appropriate. Because you're right, when consciousness merges back into the feminine, it disappears. But we can talk about that when that's appropriate to talk about. It stops being conscious of, because what would be conscious of if it's merged back into the feminine? There would be no consciousness of, there would just be everything. But everyone wants you to skip all the stages and just to be like, just to like say the bare minimum, or like say it really extremely. No, I want the absolute teaching. So the absolute teaching might just be Om, but yeah, that might be too far. Om. So why come to satsang? What is satsang about? So satsang is meeting in truth. Satsang isn't about a teacher. Even though this body is what is doing the speaking, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's another body that's doing the speaking, because it's all the same energy. It's illusion that this body is speaking to a you. Who am I speaking to? You know, Nanda Mahima, like, she's so divinely beautiful. And there's this story of like, she was down by the river, by the Ganga, and after she had this big sadhana practice, she no longer could feed herself. So for some reason she couldn't put her hands to her mouth and get the food in her mouth. It would just like not work, which I understand. Some bizarre things can happen when the shift takes place. But I suppose she also couldn't wash her face because she was down by the river and a devotee was like washing her face for her. And this sadhu saw them and was like, or not sadhu, sannyasin saw them and was like, what a lazy woman. She can't even wash her own face. And so she sort of marches up and she's like, are you so lazy you can't even wash your own face? And Nanda Mahima, like in all her innocence, just looks up and says, her hand, my hand, what is the difference? Isn't it all life's hands? And the sannyasin like instantly recognized like Ananda Mahima's freedom and like bowed down and yeah. So it's not about the teacher, it's just so happens in this combination of things, but in the infinite reality it could be anybody that is speaking out. But in this combination of things, Lisa is saying the words seemingly, but when you really investigate you'll realize that there is no Lisa or somebody else's words. It's one life expressing itself. You are not a body-mind mechanism. This is an illusion. There is the experience of looking through a body-mind mechanism, but it's not yours. It's not yours, it's just the angle. So yesterday I was speaking about like this virtual reality game I played, and it's like you have these avatars that you're using, and it doesn't mean that we ignore the body or reject the body or don't look after the body, but in the virtual reality world you understand that it's none of those bodies that are actually speaking or moving, it's just appearing that way. And that's the same here. When there's deep recognition into stillness and out of mind, then this is really deeply known that it's not somebody speaking. So what happens in satsang is we all come together to meet in truth, but it's not Lisa's truth, it's not the teacher's truth, it's everybody's truth, or the one truth here. And it's like a ping pong game. So it might start that Lisa starts expressing this freedom and this stillness and this silence, but it's not, it's all illusionary, but in that happening, it's recognized by the other body-mind mechanisms, and then that ping-pongs to the other body-mind mechanisms. So the goal of satsang is for us to all be in truth together, as one, as what we are, for illusion to be dispersed. It might seem like I'm giving mental concepts, because that's all I'm doing, is sitting here and being like, yak, 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 yak. But that's the smaller part of what's actually happening. That's the excuse. It's helpful, like to have these mental concepts, and then they play a part, but it's not the end. The most important part is the resonance with stillness, with what you are, which is beyond mind. So, love. Love is to really realize that everything is infinite. Nothing which isn't infinite. Words, knowledge. Like if you just take the idea of this word, like where does word come from? And in the moment, you can see that word comes from everything. But if you look into the apparent past, you'll see that that word comes from the very beginning of time. You know, you can't find the beginning of where word starts and stops. Did it start with the first bacteria? The first animal that crawled out of the water? Did it start with the Big Bang? Or did it start when humans emigrated all over the earth? Did it start with Om? Did it start when we left the trees, if we did live up in the trees at one point? When you really recognize that in every direction that you look in this moment, word comes from everything, and in the apparent timeline it comes from everything. This is love, and that's the same with everything and everyone and every experience that you have. It always comes from everything. So when you're walking along, and I was getting hounded a lot by the beggars today, I'm like a sucker. Like it's like I can't not be a sucker. Like I'm just like tag, tag, and then they more come, and I'm like, oh, here we go. Like I just need to make sure I have more change on me, otherwise I'll become incredibly broke. So when you look at them, and so maybe if like a rejection wants to come towards them, I'm not saying that everyone should give to the beggars. This is a whole political thing that we could talk about another time. I just can't help it. But if annoyance or if rejection comes, or if any lower or higher comes, that is illusion. That is yourself looking at yourself. They're absolute divinity, even when they're tugging at you. And the little girl was pointing like, I got no shoes. And I don't believe that she hasn't got no shoes. It might be that she has no shoes, but I'm not sure that's the truth, or if it's a setup, that she's just gone and put her feet in mud, and I don't know, you never know what's happening there. But whatever is happening, when you really see her for what she is, everything. She is God. She is the divine. She is the Shakti. Everything. The man that he begs, and then if you don't give to him, he's like curses and shouts at you. I don't know if you've come across him yet. He's like, ah! I don't know what he's saying. He never seems to come for me yet, out of all of them, but I see him go for the others. He is divinity too. He is Shakti. And this is, when you really look at everything as yourself, everything. There is nothing which isn't you, always. I'm not talking about behavior here, so I'm not talking about a strong boundary and a no. I'm talking about an internal way of being. Or it's not even internal, because who would it be internal for?
Can I ask something?
Yeah, sure. Do you mind if you come? You can bring your chair if you want.
Because it sort of ties in with the shame thing.
Yeah.
There was a bit of a theme this morning.
Oh, sorry, I've just got to put your microphone on. I'm sorry for the fakeness of all this. It's really fake, this whole stuff. Oh, put your microphone on. It's just for the friends in there. Like, I have this regular following, and I haven't uploaded anything for a while. Yeah. It's like your heart wants to express something. Oh, let's just put the microphone on.
I can't get it.
Yeah.
I've got this really strong theme of shadow and shame and self-hatred, and it sort of ties into what you're saying about the beggars. It's like of judging another, probably as harsh as what I judge whatever's here. And it's like clashing. It's probably like the mental concept of trying to be soft and fluffy.
Yeah.
And what you're saying is love is everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even the shit bits.
The shit bits. Yeah. So once you got to shame, like you're deep in this process. So once you got to recognizing there's shame there, like everybody has shame. It's the concept, of the Adam and the Eve, is that I've been kicked out of Eden. So Eve eats the, I mean, I don't really know the story. I'm not really a good Christian. Like, I never got really taught Christianity, but I think the story is that Eve ate the apple of knowledge, which is so, like, she ate the apple of knowledge. She became aware of her nakedness. It's such a profound story, if I'm getting it correct. So she became aware of her nakedness, and then God chucked her out of Eden. So to be aware of your nakedness, that is shame. I am bad. Like, to look down at these beautiful bodies, all these beautiful bodies in the different shapes and forms, and to feel in any way that any part of it is bad, is such a lie. So this eating the apple of knowledge, the ability to think, and then to think, I am naked and I am bad. So if we go back to Khaleesi, my dog, she never had that ability to think she was bad. You know, she was so happy to go everywhere, you know, and then sit and lick her booty in front of everyone and look very proud of herself. Like, she never had an issue with her body and with that she couldn't think I am bad. It's the fundamental of identification. So the fact that you've got to recognizing that you're bad means that you're really deeply in this. Like, you've really gone deep into yourself. Most people don't realize that. What they do is they spend their life trying to be better than, rejecting, putting down, arguing, fighting, blaming. But when you really get back to that feeling of that, I feel like I'm bad, and something bad is going to happen to me, you're getting to the core of identification. And it's such a lie. Nobody is bad. Outside or apparent inside. So whatever you judge outside is the same as judging inside. So if you judge the beggar for being bad, you judge yourself. So the trick to it is staying still. So this is the masculine element. Like, you come to the masculine element and you stay still with that, I am bad. You stay still. You do not touch it. You notice it arising and you do not touch it. And that means not believing. Like Nisargadatta put it as discernment. You discern this as illusion and you do not touch. Sometimes touching will happen, but you even notice that. And then this is where you rest in the witness, in the masculine. Allow it to play. Allow it to come up, but you know deeply this isn't my truth. This is Maya playing, and the goal is to stand still while that plays. Stand still. Sometimes energetically and physiologically, I am bad can be very intense energetically, and it can bring up lots of energetic sensations. So my recommendation when shame is in play is to do body work that particularly focuses on the lower chakras, so on these 3 chakras. Shame tends to be in the solar plexus, but it comes from also not being grounded in the other 2. Mm. You know, so body work, like yin yoga or yoga, anything that brings you down to these chakras, TRE, which you can look up. And chanting's really good for it, because when you chant, you know, the breath, it's all about the breath that's coming from here. And the sounds are touching the vagus nerve, which gets very stimulated by the shame. Sensuality. Like, you know, use sensuality, use the feminine to help bring you down here, or the masculine, dependent on the attraction. Like, but to bring down here. You know, to make this area come alive. What happens when we're ashamed is we're cutting off from down here and we're staying up here.
Yeah.
So it's trying to allow this area to open up. So that's what to do on the bodily level.
Because what I would have said for me is energetically, I just go
Yeah.
head.
Yeah.
Then like bombardment of, it's like a tsunami.
Yeah.
Of thoughts that's overwhelming.
Oh, yeah.
And then I find it really difficult to come back.
Yeah. So then it's like it's gentle, because what you don't want to get into is that I'm bad if I don't do these practices. So you're never bad. You're never bad. No matter what. Whatever you do in this life is a circumstance of everything that's coming before. There's never someone that's bad. No matter what you do, even if we take another's life, you're never bad. There's nothing, you know, this is what I love about Christianity. Like is you know, this idea of like you tell God your sins. I don't really know Christianity, but you tell your sins, and then Jesus takes those sins, because there's never somebody that's bad, and this is the original sin is the lie. The original sin is what creates the bad action, you know. So you're not bad, you've not done something bad, but you don't want to beat yourself up for not doing something. So when that tsunami happens, if you can chant, sing, do something even sensual, dance, move the hips. If you can't, then, and this is going to sound like the opposite to what people would expect, just distract yourself. Because because you don't want to stay in that tsunami if you're beating yourself up. You know, so it's like distract yourself, but distract yourself with something positive. So watch a comedy, even though you might not want to. Or, you know, like just to get your mind off that tsunami of like, and then afterwards, like bringing the system down. There's so many beautiful practices you can do, you know, and this is where you like can use the Indian tradition, you know, like with Ananda Mahima, like she did this, she, you know, she was a guru, and one of the practices is that you give it all to the guru. You know, you give it to her. You give that shame to her. I know that doesn't sound very nice, but it's like she's saying, you know, I will absorb your shame. It's the same as this idea of confession. So there's all these imageries and practices that you can do. But there is not somebody there that has ever sinned. Whatever anybody does in this room and in the whole entire world never comes from an individual person and for somebody that's guilty. This doesn't mean that we don't have a justice system. I'm not talking about how we organize our society. I'm talking about your internal way of being. You know, Eve was not wrong for being naked. She was beautiful in her nakedness.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you so much for your question. Such a beautiful question. Yeah. And now the fake microphone back. But not bad microphone. You are good too.
Maybe you could check now if the recording is correct. Maybe you could do that again, right?
Yeah, that was so beautiful. Yeah, this is my partner, and we have the opposites. We're just like perfect together because I blow up all the electrics. I break all of these things, and he just like has to think about it, and it gets fixed. It's amazing. Like I just have to say to him, I've got a problem with this, and then it gets fixed. Often, sometimes not. Sometimes it takes a bit of programming. Dun dun dun.
How do you see people from a liberated position?
As myself. Who else?
And isn't that destroying the concept of relationship somehow?
It's destroying everything. It's destroying the idea of enlightened, because if I see everybody as myself, I take on everybody's karma. But maybe you're asking how I have a beautiful partner here. How does that happen? How do I stay there? I also managed to look after a dog for 12 years, which was quite impressive. Well, she looked after me, I think. Yeah, how does that happen? That's life. It's the same way in which this wall manages to stay together. Why does the wall stay together? You know, it's made up of these tiny atoms and particles. I'm not good at science, but all these tiny things that have nothing inside of them. But yeah, it manages to stay as a wall. So how do I manage to stay there? Because there's this energy that creates, that keeps that together. It's beautiful. It's beautiful, these beings repeating, you know, coming back. And every moment they're fresh. And that's how you truly love your partner, is you don't see them as what they were an hour ago when they were maybe angry. You see them as what they are now, which is freedom. And that's how you truly love someone. You'll never love someone in a timeline. That will be, you know, like there'll be difficulties, different energies. You love them as what they are now. And what attracts two beings is like a mystery. Like I used to find it so fascinating with Khaleesi when I walked my dog, is that she would know even before I could see the other dog whether she liked it or not. And I could tell by her body language, you know, whether she was going to be all flirty or whether she was like her body would start even before I saw, and I know it's most probably smell or something, but I also think there's some psychic thing with dogs, because they also can tell like quite a while before you get home that you're coming home. But her body language is like already like, I'm going to like this dog or not. And then a dog she completely has never seen before, she completely adore, and it could be the size of like a tiny little mouse and, you know, have no sort of seeming power, and she'd be like, oh, you're the best thing. And then a big Rottweiler, she could be like, I hate you. Like, or not I hate you, but just like complete no. Amazing, you know, and you have this too. And there's nothing wrong or right with that. It's just the way it goes. You have energies that you're attracted to and energies that you aren't. And we get in these stories, maybe spiritual stories of, I've got to be friends with everyone or like everyone. And it's not about judgment. It's not like you're judging and saying, I like you more or not more. It's there's an energy, like of attraction. And that's beautiful. The same as what keeps the wall together, or the curtains, or the sun, or the sky, if the sky is a thing.
And what does it mean to take the karma from another person?
When you lose all boundary, you become everything the other is. So if the other is angry, then you are that. If the other person is sad, then you are that. If the other person is sexually attracted to you, then you are that. You're all of it. When you have a boundary, you're like, this is mine, and that is theirs. I am better than, they are worse than, or I am higher than. But when that goes, then you're everything they are. Some teachers will teach it like a mirror. So this is why the guru can't become arrogant. I mean, some gurus do, or some teachers do, but if they really are the teacher, if they really are free, then they can't become arrogant because they're everybody else. So they're the disciples' anger. They're the disciples' jealousy. They're the disciples' joy. And that's also the motive as to why the teacher moves in and speaks about this, because if I am everything, then when you recognize yourself, it's orgasmic. These two bodies recognize themselves looking at each other, and that's what life wants. So that is the apparent motive of the teacher. I hope it means that the teacher can't have an ego trip, because you're everything that the person comes with.
And isn't it hard to be on the street?
It's a funky chicken dance. It's not hard. If old patterns of Lisa come up, then it becomes hard. If any pattern of Lisa comes of wanting to reject anything, then it becomes hard. But it's intense. You know, you are that cow, broken leg. They're so sweet, they're trying to stop the sun going in my eye because it's hard for me to do, I do the eye thing, you know, I got the eye thing going on. But you try doing the eye thing when you've got the sun coming in your eye. It's hard, you've got it now too.
Yeah.
The sun, it's like the eye begins to leak.
Yeah.
I do the eye thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. because there's also a insanely amount of joyful, free people around here as well on the street. It's like orgasmic. You're so welcome to bring a chair if you want.
No,
You're good?
I can. Still I can.
You just have to do the...
Yes, okay.
But maybe you want to just go back a little so you're not in the shot, unless you don't mind being on YouTube. Just a tiny bit, yeah. There. Yeah, that's it, like that.
Lisa.
What's your name?
Maria.
Maria.
I'm coming up. The shyness, but I want to come up.
Yeah. That's so welcome. There's nothing that's not welcome. You know, we are constantly giving everything to God. Everything that we are.
The body has no boundaries. There are no boundaries.
Yeah.
But it's sometimes hardly to stand all this, what's happening.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's only have to come really.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why I bring my tissues. It's not very elegant tissues, it's just from the bathroom.
Yeah.
It's so funny life, all the detail, eh? That we have all these different tissues, all the
Yes.
details of life.
So it's
So the Buddha, do you know much about the Buddha and Buddhism? You know a bit. So you know the Buddha talked about nirvana, and nirvana only happens when the body physically dies. I mean, that's the way I was taught it. What I learned about Buddhism is that there's so many different schools that the way that I was taught it was the nirvana. So you become enlightened in life, and then nirvana is what happens when the body physically dies. Yeah. And it's such an intense thing, this idea for Westerners, and I don't know if you've contemplated this, and I don't know what's happening there, but it's just coming to speak about it. Whether it's because of you or someone else in this room, I don't know. But this idea of no return, so nirvana means no return. Well, it doesn't mean that, it means something else, but it's like the idea of it is that you're not returning to this world. For that there has to be such a deep understanding and knowledge and heart understanding of how this life will never work. That this life isn't the solution, and that the goal is to let go of this life. Let it go. And so nirvana, from my understanding, was that when the Buddha died, there is nothing that can return to this dream. You know, there's nothing. Oh, sorry, am I getting really sensual? It's this terrible, yeah, it's this terrible like guru culty thing that I do, which I'm criticised about online many times, is that we're having a bit of a love affair here, and it's hard to have a love affair and raise your voice. You know, so it's difficult. Like, it's the difficulty of this setup. You know, it's better when we're on Zoom because the voice can stay the same. And I was only joking about the guru culty thing before, but people criticize this a lot. Like, she's doing the eyes and the voice, she's hypnotizing you. But for what? What am I building here? So I can do weeks and weeks of free talks in India. But yeah, anyway. Yeah. And so this is just maybe, I don't know why it's coming, but just this contemplation of the idea of nirvana. You know, really letting this go. All of it. So what I said, Tillman, was I was just saying that, you know, like contemplating this idea of nirvana. You know the idea of nirvana in Buddhism. So nirvana, enlightenment happens while the body is still alive, and nirvana is what happens in death. However, just for people that know about Buddhism, there's so many different schools, so this is just the way I was taught. And it means like non-returning, not returning to this life. And that comes from deep wisdom. You know, deep wisdom of recognizing that you can't make this life work. You know, pleasure, it's not going to work. You know, a new life, you're not going to organize it so it works better. You're not going to be like, okay, well, I'll start again, and this time I will have children, or this time I will do this or do that. It's not going to work. Or this time, next life I'll become enlightened. You know, whatever our mind imagines, it's just never going to work. And that is such great wisdom. It's not depression. It's not negativity. It's not hedonistic view. It's actually a freedom. Because our suffering comes from always trying to make a dream work. And it can't. It can have pleasures, but it equally has the pains. Whatever goes up comes down. Yeah. Yeah.
And thank you for this place.
Thank you. Okay. Oh.